got to talk about the DC shooter. And to those who don't know, the DC shooter was in the CIA. Well, if the DC shooter was in the CIA, that opens up a whole can of worms. All right? Because if we are halting immigration, this ain't even a matter of if you agree with immigration or not. I know some of y'all don't like immigrants. This ain't about immigrants, though. All right? This is about tyranny and a dictatorship, and about them playing us like we're stupid. See, they know a lot of us ain't gonna push back because y'all don't like immigrants. So the policy that's coming behind this DC shooter is gonna affect immigrants, but it's gonna affect everybody. When I show you my receipts, what I got today. Now, here's why it's such a hypocrisy, because I don't want to waste no time getting right into the points. And the thing is this: if we're going to halt immigration because we're scared of immigrants coming over here shooting up National Guard bases, see, here's what's wrong with that. It's not immigrants that's coming over here doing these terroristic acts against the military and even what happened to the late Charlie Kirk. This ain't an immigrant problem. See, a lot of the things that needs to be pointed to on the, I don't want to start playing the bird game, the left-right game, but let me just not play that, but let's just deal with this. A lot of these shooters ain't immigrants. They born right here on American soil, or they are implants in our own government. See, the question, the conversation Americans need to be having ain't a conversation about immigrants. It's a conversation about how come our CIA, FBI, our DOD, our military don't know how to screen properly to vet these implants that's right in our own organizations. It is the government's job to make sure we never sign no one into the military or anything like that that isn't properly screened and that can become like a sleeper cell or implant. Because they're about to punish regular Americans, or should I say they're about to punish immigrants and regular Americans, because Trump is trying to push a new policy that even if you're a natural citizen, he can denaturalize you, which we about to go over. But they about to be able to push all this. And when you think about it, it's their man that did the doggone shooting. If all of this is staged, which I believe it is, we've been seeing a lot of staged events under Donald Trump, y'all. From Charlie Kirk to this stuff, man. And it's been taken away, like it's been doing what September 11 did to our rights as Americans. Because once we find out that Ramanula Lankanwal, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's the suspect's name. We're going to get into this. Once we find out he was one of our own that was handpicked by the CIA, this ain't a problem of immigration or American citizens. It's a problem of how come a lot of shooters come directly from the military and CIA? Bin Laden worked from the CIA. We need to pick up the parallels and see what happened with September 11. We need to see what's happening now, and we need to contemplate what's going to happen coming forward in the future. Because September 11 showed us that they are willing to unalive many American citizens to bring forth certain policies and laws and agendas. You know. But In September 11, there was no, there was none of those things. It was all CGI. And it was boom, explosions. And all of the information that debunked 911 has been deleted, carefully removed from the internet. Because 911 was the psyop that let everyone know they're using CGI and trickery on the media and psychological operations on a big scale to push agendas. It's nothing to play about. And we've seen so many psychological operations under Trump, from the pandemic to what we're seeing now. He is like the psyop man. And this one here, like Charlie Kirk just happened. Now we got this, and it's so many red flags, and just the world is a stage. Everyone on it is puppets. And no one even considering the idea that the world is a stage. They just going with the act. They going along. They're reacting to the play. And they're saying, who do you think killed Charlie Kirk? Was it this one or that one? And no one never stopped to say, how do we even know Charlie Kirk is unalive? That's never an option, because that's too much of a conspiracy theory. And that's the like one that I think we should, if we knew the nature of the media, which most people don't, they don't think that the news and all of them have a reason to lie, or that they will go to certain extents to fake this kind of stuff. They're naive. They hadn't had their cherry pop yet. They hadn't had that red pill yet. And that's most of the world. It's so much fake stuff happen, man. People getting shot without blood. Medics picking them up, handling the body, and ain't no blood on the gloves or hands, and they're smiling and laughing. The world's a stage. We are in a world of deep fake and AI. You don't know what's fake from real. We've been saying this since 2020, that it's hard to tell what's real from fake nowadays, but yet people keep walking outside as if everything real. Everything real. We supposed to have been activated the let me start questioning everything button. We should have done that yesterday. When we find out that most of these shooters was already working with the CIA and in the military, suspicions ought to be raised. Because these are implants, they are on the world stage. And these people may not even be unalived. These people may change their identity or go to uncharted lands and live in paradise after they do what they do on a world stage. And when you talk like this, people laugh at it. But all of these acts allow them to bring forth policies, procedures that are anti-constitutional. And all of this stuff is to bypass the Constitution and take your power away, and you don't even see it. It's the nature of how they roll it out. But if this man was in the CIA, then why are we passing these denaturalization policies and immigration policies when we need to be passing a policy that says, hey, whoever recruiting people in the CIA, if you recruit a damn implant, we got to punish your ass, right? Right? That's right. Why you punishing me? And why you punishing immigrants for something that seems to be a CIA government screening issue? If people really cared about the safety of Americans, they would be talking like this right here. That's right. If you care about yourself more than you hate immigrants, you will rationalize and come to this conclusion. If you really care about us being safe, then understand that the CIA keep letting sleeper cells into our country. See, we can't blame this on the Border Patrol, Homeland Security. We can't blame that on them. This ain't a matter of immigration. These are Americans born and raised in this land. They joining the military. They getting into the CIA. And then this happened. Bin Laden. He was in the CIA. Matter of fact, the terrorists that flew the plane, a lot of them was trained right there at Lackland Air Force Base. That's right. Right there in Texas. I went to Lackland Air Force Base. I was there for 6 weeks for basic training. And then for security forces training, I was there for 12 weeks. So I was at Lackland a long time down in San Antonio. Airman first class. Shout out to Hydrogen. Thank you for the super chat, Hydrogen. I mean, am I right? I know FBAs have a problem with immigration. And a lot of y'all hopping on the Trump train, and I think that makes the movement look bad. Because ain't no damn way that an immigrant in this country picking fruit more of a threat to me than that orange man in office that's giving the whole damn country to Israel. That's right. So y'all FBAs that's promoting Democrat, Republican, y'all are implants that need to get out of this FBA movement. Because FBA is saying, fuck the left and the right, we holding our votes until you cut the check. So anybody in FBA on that Trump train, you undermining the mission. FBA is not a group where we deriding political parties. Lead that with the conservatives, lead that with the liberals. This is lineage based. And yes, you got FBAs that are Christian, FBAs that are Muslim, FBAs that are this and that. And you have FBAs that are left and right. And you have FBAs like me that's saying if you're an FBA that's left or right, you ain't fully FBA. Because the agenda of FBA ain't left or right. It's FBA. That's right. And if the left or the right had FBA's agenda, we wouldn't have had to make FBA. We could have just been Democrats or been Republicans. That's right. Let's talk about the DC shooter. And along the way, we got to talk about the hypocrisy of foundational Black Americans that's on the Trump train because of some immigration. When the biggest immigrants is Zionist small hats. Y'all are really on a slave plantation telling the master, get this other dude off my cotton field, master. He taking my cotton picking job. And we don't even want them jobs. If you really about the country of America as a foundational Black America, the biggest threat to this land is them small hats. They run this country. And do you know how much of our money, land, and resources FBA that they get? Way more than every immigrant group in this country combined. That's right. They rather us be more mad at the immigrants than the Zionists, than that group. I gotta choose my words more carefully for coding. Because think about who running all these psyops, man. It's them small hats. They're running the world stage. They're telling the puppets what to do so that they can undermine our constitutional rights and our power as the people. This is a big concern that FBA need to be bringing up. because I'm with you on the tethers. But we also have to incorporate the fact that there's small hats undermining us as well on a big level. And if we ain't willing to do that, we cowards, and we rather pick on the little bitty man, because the real enemy is so big and strong. And I'm saying I'm the type FBA, I got smoke for everybody. Tethers, the J word, anybody on this land doing too goddamn much. Anybody doing too much over here, man. You gotta have that same energy for everybody, man. Because you clowning.
Who were shot at point blank range, just blocked. We've now learned the.
So I don't know if a lot of y'all even know what happened, but there were 2 National Guard members that were shot up by a suspect by the name of Ramanala Lockenwald. And this suspect, Ramanala, was in the CIA. I don't have an age on him yet, but we're going to play the video. I just wanted to give you the brief rundown of the story. He went up in, and I think he was on a National Guard base. If I'm not mistaken. I have the graphic video. I can't play it for you guys because it's graphic. This channel isn't monetized, so I can play it on theirs, but you can't see it. I'm gonna watch it. I'll react for it, and I'll explain it to you. This looks staged. We're in a downtown area. The footage is supposed to be showing a hero National Guard member opening fire on a suspect Afghan terrorist just moments after the alleged gunman ambushed 2 troops in a broad daylight attack. I'm looking at the footage and it looks very, very staged. I'll show you one scene of it real quick that should be okay to show. Right here. Right here, right? So look, what looks staged about it is this. You have a National Guard soldier right here. The shooter is over here to the left. The building is hiding him. Let's play it. You see the soldier right here with the arm out. These are 2 soldiers right here. They got eyes on the shooter, right? Now listen, they got eyes on the shooter. They have their guns out, and the shooter is approaching them with his gun out, 1 man versus 2. Let's peep what these soldiers do. Let's blow this up. Take a look at what these 2 soldiers do. And I'm going to tell you when I see Hollywood acting. Because I was in the military, and not only was I in the military, people, listen. Just want to put this on the table. I was a sharpshooter. I was in the infantry. I handled these big weapons, not just handguns, grenade throwers, grenades, and all of that. Check this out. I'm telling you right now, you can take my word when I'm telling you this is not how you react in this situation. But I also will say, take my words with a grain of salt, because you never know how you're going to react in any situation. That's right. No matter how trained you are, when you caught off guard and them pistols go off, you may do something stupid, so we got to keep that on the table too. But let's watch it. Here's what's stupid to me. You don't turn your back to the intruder. It's that is Hollywood. See? In Hollywood, I'm looking at my threat in front of me. They strapped, I'm strapped. And in Hollywood, when I want to run, I drop my gun down and turn my back. Pop, pop. You know, I already got shot 2-3 times doing that. Anybody dealt with law enforcement know if I got a threat in front of me, right? If I got a threat in front of me, I got eyes on the threat, I got guns on him. I don't take my gun off of the threat and turn my back to the... First of all this is taking time while the threat got his hands on the trigger shooting at me. That's a death sentence. This happens in Hollywood. This Hollywood stuff. Now, I can be wrong, but you want my reaction, my review, right? I gotta give you mine. This stupid. This Hollywood acting. In Hollywood, they do that a lot. They shooting at a person, pow, pow, pow. You don't... Guess what? Real law enforcement officers, they're gonna back like this, and they never gonna fucking put their gun down, number one, while they got guns on the target. You're gonna neutralize it. First of all, number one was stupid. I'm not dropping my damn gun down when I see the threat in front of me. And they like, okay, well, the threat walking toward them, but it's two of us and we got cover. You scared? Because that's gonna get you killed. You shouldn't have been a soldier, because running away, turning your back to a threat and you don't get shot in the back, let me know that this a movie right here, man. That's a movie. That's a movie. Now, I can be wrong, but we're gonna break this footage down and criticize it from my perspective. To me, there's a lot of unprofessionalism in this thing. It's a lot of unprofessionalism in this thing when it comes to a gun battle. If I'm gonna get shot, you gonna shoot me in the front, man. You ain't gonna shoot me in the back. And I got eyes on the threat and my gun is already up. Do you know how much vulnerability I'm putting myself in, taking my gun off the target and doing like this? And then doing like this? And then you still got about 2-3 seconds before you clear that building to get cover when you already got cover. Look at the video, it don't make sense. You already got good cover. And then my thing is, if the threat is down here to the left of the building, why is this soldier even looking to the right? That don't make sense. Why is this guy looking this way when the shooter is this way and y'all already engaged him? Who does that? Man, this is so stupid, it's ridiculous. Watch this, man. Couldn't wait to review this with y'all. Hit the like and share button, because I'm gonna point out from a military, infantryman's perspective, I'm a rifleman, that this is not, and I can be wrong, man. I can be wrong. I don't know everything. But, and then again, you gotta give them the excuse of, I was scared and caught off guard too when I did something stupid. So, but it's just stupid. Y'all are engaging the target right now. You see this, folks? They got guns on them. They got eyes on them. Now watch the stupidity. Look at this dude right here. If you know that there's a gunman walking down the sidewalk toward you, and you're already got cover, and he don't even see you, in my opinion, it don't even look like the gun. This dude right here, he's behind like a bus stop or something. That's some good cover. That's some good cover. You got a white truck right here too. I'm gonna tell you what you're not gonna do, the point that I'm making. You're not gonna run in front of the suspect like he doing. Because this is a sidewalk right here, and the suspect is walking down this sidewalk, and he ain't scared. He's in the open. The suspect ain't taking cover. He's walking down this sidewalk and he's ambushing them, right? So If you did want it to change your location, you definitely not gonna go in front of the sidewalk where the suspect have his gun up, waiting for anything to walk in front of here to shoot. And this dude right here, his position is funny style because he should be more over here looking around than right there. But I can't see the gunman from this angle. All I can assume is that the gunman has this sidewalk covered. Like this sidewalk, me personally, I would treat it like a fatal frontal. In law enforcement, a fatal frontal means, right? Let's say I go to your house and I heard there's a gunman in the house. I'm not gonna stand in front of the door and knock on it like this. Standing in front of your door. I'm gonna stand to the side of your door and I'm gonna knock on it like this. And I'm gonna say, hey, anybody in there? Because they shoot through the door. They do that all the time. So many cops have died standing in front of the door. Boo! That's called the fatal frontal. And what I did, I incorporate the fatal frontal concept with anything. It don't just gotta be a door, it can be a hallway. You never wanna be in the middle of the hallway and you got doors down the hallway and you say, hey, anybody here? You wanna stand on the side of the hallway because someone can hop out one of them doors, boom, you in the middle of the hall. That's called a fatal frontal. That can save your life. That little bitty knowledge can save your life. But what I'm saying is, this soldier went right into the fatal frontal because the threat is down this sidewalk and he could have took cover behind this white truck right there. So that makes zero sense. If he survived this and I'm your sergeant, I'm replaying this tape and I'm telling you what you did wrong. Because they ran right out there in front of the bullets and wonder why they got shot up. It's 2-on-1. That man is not that trained. It's just that these soldiers lack training, or it's some kind of act. It's a Hollywood movie or something. Because they was acting like they wanted to get, shot. Seriously, man. Think about what I'm pointing out to y'all, though. We see the threats down here. I'm about to play the video, but this still picture here is important. The threats down this right here, instead of him going behind a white truck, which was very smart to do, he goes right in the fatal frontal. Now, let's watch this. Right, look at there. Then this dude put his gun down, turned his back to the threat. This is just damn stupid, man.
Stupid.
Bro, who trained y'all? Let's play. This is crazy. Who trained y'all? So you're being ambushed and the dang on ambusher ain't aiming his gun at you and you had your gun up and you didn't shoot him? People. You didn't see that? Listen, the soldier literally had his hand up, his gun drawn. The killer running crazy, and I'm thinking that the suspect is running like this, like a police would, because a police is gonna run with their gun up. It's a tactical run, and they're gonna move at you with that. It's a goofy little speed walkish type run, but they keep that gun up. Cause this right here doing all that, those seconds can cost you your life. So look, the suspect wasn't even running like that. He was running like this with his gun down. The soldier had the ups on him already. You could have neutralized the target. You could have neutralized that target right there, sir. But what did you do? Put your gun down, take your eye off the target, and let's play chase game. Let's play, now your back turned to him, and what you think gonna happen? He gonna shoot you up in the back. That's why you never run. You stand your ground, take cover, and send shots downfield. Because if you been ambushed, guess what's gonna stop them from moving forward? Them bullets. Ain't no ambusher gonna keep coming forward with aggression once you start sending them goddamn shots down there. That's right. He just made himself become the prey. And it looks so Hollywood and staged, like they wanted this to happen, because this is not, if you're gonna die, you gonna die by getting shot in the front, not in the back as a military soldier. You ain't gonna be ambushed retreating when you had good cover, you had sights and targets on the suspect, and the suspect didn't even have his firearm up. Pop, pop, end of the thing, come pick him up, the shit's over. But see, they wanted this to be what it is, if you ask me. This just looked too goofy. It looks too goofy, man. So I'm gonna look at some more. I don't know how graphic it's gonna get, so I'm gonna take that off and I'll come back to the screen share when some good happen, what I can critique. But right now, we getting a different camera view because who's ever recording this, they driving by, which I'm gonna let y'all see this angle. Boom, you see this angle? They looking down this sidewalk here. But my thing is, let's go back. We see the suspect in all black right there. That's the suspect. He went right back down the same sidewalk that they let him. Like, if this was anybody else, they would have been shot the hell up already. You got two soldiers with sights and targets on this dude, and y'all ain't pulling the trigger. Now, we can't hear nothing, but if they shooting, they can't shoot. They need to go back to training. Ain't that him in all black right there? That popped out? This is a close battle gun. This is a close gun fight. And ain't nobody getting hit but the soldiers. Damn. Yeah, so he's taking cover on that part of the sidewalk. I wonder how much of this gonna show us some good angles. I'm gonna play it. It don't seem to be too graphic. At least not now. So, medics showing up. It's always psyops happening in DC, New York. Tri-state should be called Psy-state, psyop state. That was a stupid gun battle. It was one of the most goofiest gunfights I ever saw in my dang on life. And I didn't even see where he shot him at. So, okay, when they bent the corner, he was shooting them. He was shooting them then. He must have been tagging them up. So he was shooting them already. I don't see him shooting them at all, but again, we get a little glimpse of the battle, and it was one of the most goofiest gun battles I ever seen. A lot of mistakes made. But let's talk about the suspect and the CIA real quick. This is where it gets interesting.
We've now learned the names of the two West Virginia National Guard members who were shot at point-blank range just blocks from the White House. The Justice Department identifying them as 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom and 24-year-old Andrew Wolf. We understand they've undergone surgery and remain in critical condition.
We're also learning new details about the suspect. Authorities say the 29-year-old Afghan national traveled across the country from Washington state to the nation's capital before the attack. We'll have the latest on the investigation in a moment. First, I want to get to CNN's Brian Todd, who's live at the shooting scene. And Brian, you're learning more about how this attack played out.
That's right, Omar and Boris. We have important new information this afternoon on how the attack played out. We're going to get to what Janine Pirro said about that in just a second. But first, we
They said they shot him and took him into custody. So there are no one was unalive. I don't know why I used that word earlier. They are in critical condition. Yeah.
have access here that we have not had before to the actual spot where the shooting occurred. I'm standing at the spot right now. And if you come over here with me, our photojournalist Jay McMichael and I are going to walk you over here. This area here, excuse me, ma'am, this is the bus shelter where, according to officials, at least one of the guardsmen tried to take cover at, and you can see that a plexiglass panel here has been shot out. You can see the fragmented glass up there. This panel is gone, and I'm going to walk you over here to this planter. It appears here that there is a bullet hole here that entered here and exited here of this planter. There's another planter over here. Jay's going to shoot you a close-up of that, and there's another planter here where this part has been removed. I'm going to walk you over here to show you that part of the planter that was removed. And in the meantime, you see a makeshift memorial here to the victims, people laying flowers and an American flag.
Do they make memorials for people that haven't been unalive? I never heard of that, but hey, first time for everything. I didn't know there was any deaths in this shooting.
Over here is a part of that panel that was actually removed, and you can see additional bullet holes here, one here, one here. And this looks like some evidence that was handled by...
So we just gonna leave the evidence right there on the trash can? Interesting again. Anybody can walk by and just grab that and sell it on eBay and say, hey, this the panel from... I'm just saying, who would... Everything gets sold on eBay. But, okay, if it's evidence, wouldn't it be bagged and tagged? You don't want to leave that on the trash. Someone walk by and throw a drink, a soda, or a milkshake in the trash. They just ruin the evidence. I'm just saying. I mean, if it's evidence, treat it as such. I don't know how much big evidence that'll be, but if it's evidence, it's treated as such.
Authorities as they started to process the scene last evening. So in addition to that, we have new information from Janine Pirro. She is the U.S.
Hold up, what did he just say? When did they process the scene? How long that shit been sitting up there? You gotta be playing.
Panel that was actually removed, and you can see additional bullet holes here, one here, one here. And this looks like some evidence that was handled by authorities as they started to process the scene last evening.
Last evening? I never heard of that word before. I heard of last week. I heard of last year. I heard of last month. Have y'all ever heard of last evening? I never heard last evening. I even heard last night. Never heard last day. You know, last day or last yesterday. Last can't go in front of everything. And last evening is Have y'all ever heard of last evening? This is so scripted because I'm gonna tell you something. The only way you make those kind of grammatical errors is if your shit is one, we know it's teleprompted, but you mean to tell me that CNN using Chat GPT, nigga? Where my Chat GPT users at? Tell these folks that these are the kind of mistakes that AI make when AI is writing up your shit. I use AI all the time. AI doesn't know little nuances like last week, last month, last year. See, AI will learn that, but not pick up on a little nuances like you can't say last evening. And the man kind of hesitated like, last evening, you're reading an AI generated script. Oh my God, the world is scripted. Now, oh my God, I'm telling y'all I use ChatGPT a lot. And I use it better than CNN because when you use ChatGPT, you got to train it to talk like you. That's right. It take a minute for you to break your ChatGPT in. But it's some gurus out there now. They got a lot of power over AI. They can make AI do what they want it to do. And matter of fact, if you one of them guys, help your boy out where I can train mine at, because these are the people that's going to be very important in the future. The people that got power over AI and these little prompts and stuff who can train it right, they're going to be ruling in the future. Now watch this to make my point. CNN is so cheap because not only are y'all lazy, y'all using AI, you're not training your AI right and you ain't correcting it. So even people that train their AI, they proofread it. They read it over and they change stuff about it because AI don't know everything. Like AI don't know you shouldn't say last evening.
Stupid.
AI don't know that you can't put last in front of everything because AI just gonna learn the way we teach it. And the only thing we've been teaching it, it picks up on patterns like last week, last year. So in AI's mind, you can put last in front of any specific reference of time, whether it be year, month, day, week, morning, evening, and AI's wrong. There are little human nuances that AI is yet to learn, and damn it, CNN gonna be the one to teach them after they watch my video. Because I'm telling y'all, that's an AI glitch. The only way I can explain that is an AI glitch. Let's hear it again because it's very important, because this may be the proof we need to let us know, which we already knew, is scripted. But I've been telling y'all it's not a human that's scripting it. They are using an advanced AI like ChatGPT. And it, and it's basically giving them a script to act out on the stage to get to a certain end goal. And when they read the script, it ain't always grammatically correct because you're using AI and you ain't proofreading it. I see a lot of content creators making the same mistake CNN making right now. And I make it sometime. When you using ChatGPT, you get lazy and you don't want to read over all that stuff that you requesting. I got to read it over because ChatGPT is programmed to give you the mainstream narrative. But some people who are already pushing the mainstream narrative, they just be like, why read it over? This is why. This is why, bro. This is why. Let's hear it again. A lot of people may think that that's not a biggie, but that's big, man. It's big because it's scripted, bro.
That's up there.
It's obvious. No one says last evening but AI.
This panel is gone, and I'm going to walk you over here to this planter. It appears here that there is a bullet hole here that entered here and exited here of this planter. There's another planter over here. Jay's going to shoot you a close-up of that, and there's another planter here where this part has been removed. I'm going to walk you over here to show you that part of the planter that was removed. And in the meantime, you see a makeshift memorial here to the victims, people laying flowers and an American flag. Over here, is a part of that panel that was actually removed, and you can see additional bullet holes here, one here, one here. And this looks like some evidence that was handled by authorities as they started to process the scene last evening. So in addition to that,
cause to me, it's a teleprompter in front of this screen, right? And the was, well, damn, he recognized it says last evening. He just read it anyway, but I know his mind was like, oh, that's shouldn't be there, but he had to read it on. But that's crazy.
we have new information from Jeanine Pirro. She is the U.S. Attorney General for the District of Columbia. Earlier today, she spoke to us about the sequence of gunshots. Take a listen.
A lone gunman opened fire without provocation, ambush style, armed with a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver. One guardsman is struck.
Are you serious? Your boy went up in there with the Yosemite Sam and ambushed two soldiers and they got automatics? Hold up. You mean to tell me we're in a gunfight, chat? Hear me out now. Watch this. We're in a gunfight. I have an automatic weapon and body armor. Automatic weapon. Pop, 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 pop. He has a revolver. And a Smith Wesson. It's got more kick than your automatic little Glock or whatever the soldiers got. But he's shooting like this. Boom, boom. That's like a little shotgun. Pow, 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 pow. Every time he shoot, this gotta happen. Pow, pow, pow. Versus the soldier's gun is like pop, 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 pop. How the soldiers come out on the shit end of that stick, y'all? How?
Come on now, dog. Come on.
How y'all lose a gunfight to Yosemite Sam with all that armor and them automatic weapons and your boy got a revolver? Once he run out of 6 shots, that's the end of the fight. This one got weird written all on it, folks. Hit the like and share button. Got weird written all over it.
Truck goes down, and then the shooter leans over and strikes the guardsman again. Another guardsman is struck several times.
Now, you may be wondering, who uses a revolver with kick to it in a military ambush? That is stupid. If you want to do an ambush, you need some sort of assault rifle. You need some sort of automatic weapon that can put a lot of bullets downfield at one time and that you don't gotta aim and that it ain't got much kick. You need something like a Uzi, because it's a close battle gun range and I can just go in, it's over. My ambush successful. If I'm really trying to kill soldiers, no ambusher finna ambush military soldiers with a 6-shot revolver, y'all. Now, why did they make him have a 6-shot revolver in this script? It's another red flag. I'm about to show y'all how to critical think. The suspect had to have a revolver because they didn't want to leave no bullet shells behind. Now, I'm just reviewing this story. I don't know much of the details. It's been going on for 2 days, 3 days, longer than that. Shout out to Ghetto 916. Thank you for being a member. Who leaves the evidence at the scene of the crime? Facts. Facts. In the trash can. If they recover the revolver, then they're gonna have the shells, of course. But my thing is, they don't want shells popping off from the suspect gun if he's working with them to carry out this psyop. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. You don't know the difference between a blank and a real bullet. If I was outside right now with a real gun, but it was shooting blanks, you wouldn't know the difference. It's gonna smell the same, look the same. If I aim that gun at you shooting them blanks, you gonna be running for dear life, even though ain't nothing hitting you. If the suspect had a revolver full of blanks, they don't want nobody in the public picking up none of them shells. Because if it's a blank, we can tell that with the shell, man, that this is you was shooting blanks. And it'll be exposed that this is a psyop. So I'm showing y'all how to think. Nobody that want to ambush soldiers is going to use a revolver. They're going to use an automatic. But the thing about automatic, it releases many shells. It's messy. It's going to be shells everywhere. Like, if you want to do a real ambush, you're going to use not only an automatic gun, but a machine gun that's lightweight and that can at least shoot about hundreds of bullets in a minute. These young boys with these extendos and stuff, they letting off hundreds of bullets in a minute. You're trying to go to war with military soldiers and you got a 6-shot revolver, no more bullets after that. And all that kick. And you got to ask yourself, why is this story so bizarre? Because you got to think about it. If you're trying to fake an ambush from a terrorist, but think about where it happened at in a big public space. If you're trying to pull this psyop off and you don't want to kill hundreds of people and have a fucking mess with a bunch of people in the hospital, medics everywhere, might have to bring out the National Guard to help because so many people shot, because in a real ambush, that's how it's going to be. This dude was in the CIA. That mean he's trained. That mean the moment he say, I want to ambush military soldiers, he can't play with that. He know what kind of weaponry and material he going to need because he's a soldier. He ain't stupid. So he ain't going to show up with a revolver. I'm telling y'all, this is all Hollywood. And they had to give him a gun that don't release any shells because look how crowded it is out there. So they got so much working against them in this psyop. Number one, they want it to be an ambush, and a person that's planning an ambush is going to shoot an automatic machine gun. But they said we can't give them that because too many people will get hit. And also, if we put blanks in an automatic machine gun and have him shooting at these two soldiers like, then we're going to have to make sure that these two soldiers get like 50 shots apiece and make them Swiss cheese riddled with bullets. Ain't no way they can survive that. What we get now is that the soldiers is in critical condition. It's a few shots. But if you give that man a machine gun, you got to not only give the soldiers a bunch of shots, a bunch of people in public got to get hit with them many rounds firing off in public. In the middle of downtown D.C. In the day, broad day. And they don't want it to be that messy. That's how you know it's a red flag. Because in a real lone shooter situation, when we got a crazy ambusher, he want it to be messy. These shooters ain't showing up trying to be clean. They showing up mad and mean. These shooters are showing up trying to fire off the most bullets they can before the police come. And they don't care who they hit. If they got a problem with military soldiers, they sure don't care about American citizens. If you gonna do this, you gonna do it because you still gonna get the same amount of jail time. Why not go all the way out? This is not how terrorists, they don't play like that. So it shows you it's a lot of red flags already. This is not how an ambush with training is carried out with a fucking revolver, number one. And I'm telling you why they had to give him a revolver. It's convenient for the PSYOP. See, that way is an excuse for why the only people that got hit was these two soldiers. Is also an excuse for why no one recovered any bullets from the suspect but the authorities, and that's very convenient. Give them a revolver. Because when you shooting blanks, you don't want a bunch of blank casings all over DC with the public picking them up saying, hey, this ain't a real bullet. So we can't give them a machine gun, and we can't give them a gun that releases shells because we shooting blanks, and we don't want them shooting too much because we ain't really shooting for real. And if we give them a machine gun full of blanks, that's going to look stupid as hell that only two people got shot in a public broad space. They're very crafty with these psyops, and they know most people ain't going to think it through like this. They just going to believe the news. But that's crazy, man, that all of these red flags.
And both of those guardsmen are now in critical condition at a local hospital. We have made inquiries with the hospital to learn more about the surgeries and about where they're being treated. The hospital's not gotten back to us on that. As Boris and Omar mentioned, they're identified as Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, Andrew Wolf, 24 years old. Those are the two guard members who were struck yesterday in this attack. Beckstrom has been in the guard since 2023, according to officials. Andrew Wolf has been in the guard since 2019. According to officials at the news conference, were sworn in yesterday. We believe that meant that they were sworn in not as new guard members, but sworn in as deputies for the U.S. Marshals, which they have to do about every month. Guys,
that is a freaking red flag again. Another red flag. Listen, let's replay it. What are the odds of the two guard members in this PSYOP just joined the National Guard? They just joined. Let's listen to this.
From 20 years old, Andrew Wolf, 24 years old. Those are the two guard members who were struck yesterday in this attack. Beckstrom has been in the guard since 2023, according to officials. Andrew Wolf has been in the guard since 2019. According to officials at the news conference, were sworn in yesterday, we believe.
So if you've been in the National Guard for 2-3 years, why the hell are you just swearing in? See, this is a very crazy situation. Like, this one got red flag on it because it's so much mysterious stuff surrounding this shooting that just don't happen in the real world. I was in the National Guard too, man, right? I was active duty and guard. And when I was National Guard, I was a specialist in the Army. I was at Fort Sill in Oklahoma. And then I went back home where I was reporting once a month, weekend warrior down there in Bama. But my whole thing is, you swear in the moment you go through your little, because when you enter the Guard or you enter active duty, you wait a while and then you go to your boot camp or your technical training. Every soldier got to go through that. That's where you swear in at. That's right. Listen, they don't give you a gun and issue you out rank and a name tag and all that, and you ain't even swore in yet. Listen, swearing in take place day one, day two. Drop a one, military people. Where's my military people at drop a one? Was you in the military 3-4 years and then they say, oh yeah, man, let us come swear you in. You know we didn't swear you in yet. You can't be that's like going to court, right? And you know in court you gotta swear in when you go to court. That's like them going through the whole court case And at the end of the case, they like, oh yeah, we forgot to swear y'all in. Go swear everybody in. Bro, you can't even begin the court case and then proceed until you swear them in. Because you can't get them with perjury until you swear them in. If I'm a soldier in the military and I do some traitorous to the country, they can't punish me because I didn't take no oath. They can be like, well, we didn't swear him in yet. Well, you can't punish me because I didn't take my oath yet. That's why they swearing you in first. That's like a police reading you your Miranda rights. If they don't read them, it can jeopardize any further proceedings. And why do all that good work and have it on shaky grounds? You might as well read the Miranda rights. This stupid. It's so many holes and mysteries and just crazy stuff with this one, man. Like who joined the military and don't swear in to 3 years later? You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like they joined the military, they swore in, but they had to take another oath for the PSYOP. If the military come to you with a secret mission because they know that you can be trusted, they already screened and vetted you, guess what? You got to take a second oath. Because it's now you going into another level of secrecy. Your first oath was not trading against the people and being a traitor. Your second oath may be you can't disclose this information that the military giving you because it's so secretive you can't even tell your kids and your wife. Now they got to take you in another room. You got to do another oath. That's that's a whole nother contract you making because they about to expose you to a whole nother get down. And once you take that oath, they might say, look, we got a psychological operation that we're running in DC. It's a drill. It's just a drill. We want to see how the public react. You know, it's for training. It's for safety. And we would like you guys to participate. It requires a bit of deception, but it's for good. It's for your country. You don't think some bright young soldier who think like, oh shit, they trusted me to be Mr. Top Secret. They gonna be fucking happy and honored to do that. Don't think this don't happen, y'all. And they screen people in advance. They know who gonna be down with it because you got a lot of soldiers that's already part of little militias. They already part of little Freemasonic, little far-right nationalist groups. They already know if we come to Airman such and such, he gonna be with it. There's no reason for you to take an oath 3 years in your career. If you is, that's a whole nother oath than the one we all took at day one. What kind of oath you taking? Hey, go watch the new Dairy. The Clown, the new Dairy joint. It's centered around the Air Force keeping secrets from their own people. And you'll see what I'm talking about with this whole, like the military is a fraternity. Don't forget that. And just like with any fraternity, it's a need to know basis. Just like in a gang. Everybody don't know what the OGs know. You only know what you need to know as a soldier. And that's how it goes, unless you get initiated to a higher order.
4 years old. Those are the two Guard members who were struck yesterday in this attack. Beckstrom has been in the Guard since 2023, according to officials. Andrew Wolf has been in the Guard since 2019. According to officials at the news conference, were sworn in yesterday. We believe that meant that they were sworn in not as new Guard members, but sworn in as deputies for the U.S. Marshals, which they.
Okay, so you got two National Guard soldiers. They both been in the military almost 3 years. And right before this PSYOP, they become deputies. It's the timing for me. It's the timing for me. That's it. It's just the timing for me, man. Yeah, we both just became deputies. Now we're part of the biggest damn psyop this year to end the year off with. Because this one finna allow Trump to get a real dictator type of power, which is, it don't matter if you are an American born and raised on his land, you can be denaturalized and kicked the hell up out of America. He's passing that, and we about to go into that in a minute with the next video. But like and share, like and share, like and share.
They have to do about every month. Guys, back to you.
Brian Todd live for us in Washington, D.C. We hope to learn a positive update on those Guard members at some point soon. CNN senior national security reporter Zach Cohen joins us now. Zach, take us through what we've learned about the suspect.
Yeah, we're learning quite a lot about his background. It's a 29-year-old Afghan national who came to the United States in 2021 as part of this program that was implemented by the Biden administration.
Now listen, of course they gonna throw the Democrats under the bus and they gonna play the left-right game versus the Zionist game and the American corrupted government, two wings of the same bird game. Right? So watch this. You can have Afghanistan I don't know what to call him. Here, Afghanistan soldier. You can have some random Afghanistan guy, soldier, move to America in 2021 and be working for the CIA in 2025, 2023. You know how long it'll take an American that's born and raised in this country to get a job with the CIA? That's right! You can have some foreigner, y'all. Look at this guy. He moved to the U.S. in 2021. He only been here for 4 years. And he already got a job with the CIA. You know how much screening and red tape as a black man you would have to go through to work with the CIA? If you got a fucking DUI on your record, they ain't gonna give you the job. It's so hard to get on with the CIA. But yet you can be a whole Afghanistan stranger, only been in America for 4 years, and you are with our intelligence agency, the department that knows everything about every American. They letting strangers come and be exposed to that. Now that's what we need to talk about. And it ain't just Biden and the left. Both political parties is doing this. Because Trump doing it with Israel. It's no different. While y'all worried about immigrants. And they got motherfuckers coming to America that just got here getting CIA, FBI jobs, being exposed to documents that can pull up your whole family records and stuff. Come on, man. That's what we got to talk about. And what do? They target immigrants and Americans with denaturalization acts versus saying, hey, our CIA is opening up the door for every and anybody, and their screening process must not be strong enough because they screening the hell out of regular Americans that's trying to work with the CIA, but they let old Ramanula just move his big head ass to America for 4 years, and he all up in the CIA. That's what Americans need to be talking about, man.
After the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Now, it seems that why he was allowed to come to the U.S. in part was because of his work with the U.S. military and CIA. He was, our understanding, he served in an elite counterterrorism unit that worked directly with U.S. intelligence and military units in Afghanistan, including active combat against Taliban forces at the time. And so there were thousands of those individuals who served in those roles that were evacuated when the
See, the truth is that we are the Taliban. The Taliban is a stage name on a world stage of a defunct group that ain't even making no noise. You notice when they so-called killed bin Laden, we ain't heard nothing else about the Taliban yet. They got a new group that they talking about now. You see, and groups don't just work like that. When you kill bin Laden, there's gonna be a new leader rise up to take over the Taliban and continue to fight. But no. The Taliban was a CIA psychological operation ran on Americans in coordination with Middle Easterns who work with our CIA. They're just actors. Everything you've been told and shown is a lie. And it's been us the whole time. The Taliban is us. We are ISIS too. The American government is disguising itself as these different enemies. It's working with other countries to manifest these psyops. And it ain't no big bad bully that we fighting against. It's simply them. It's the people in power in this land versus the people. And they are trying every day to take more power and create a dictatorship in the form of running out sequences of events that will slowly but surely take away our constitutional rights and authority as a people. That's what the war is. It's a psychological operation war. It ain't that our military is out there kicking ass, protecting us from big bad Taliban and ISIS and the other one. It's that all of these terrorist groups, the name of them are code words and psychological operations. These are acts that are taking place on the world stage. When they was going on about ISIS, they was showing all these scary pictures of ISIS with one of our soldiers, and then somebody zoomed in on the arms of two of the ISIS troops, and they had American flags on their arms. So why would ISIS be wearing U.S. flags? They forgot to cover their tattoos that day. Don't think this ain't real, y'all. It's actually, when you realize that America ain't got no real terrorist threat like that. All of our threats are technological, like with China and AI and all that. The days of like Desert Storm, and like I know we like to think of this desert trooper from the sand coming to America, blowing up buildings and shooting up National Guards. That right there is a narrative that they've programmed in y'all ever since September 11th. And we should have known then when we found out bin Laden worked for the CIA. Now this dude worked for the CIA. What are the odds of you having all these terrorist attacks in your land? And the last two major terrorist attacks from Afghanistan, the people that did it worked for our own CIA. Now, our CIA is the Central Intelligence Agency, meaning it's their job to have intelligence on everybody, especially the people that they work with. They do more spying and surveillance on regular American citizens than the people that they work with. Does that make sense? It ain't really no war, man. It's them versus us. And I'm telling you, I don't even think that this dude, Ramanula, I just think it's all acting. And I think they shot blanks. And I think that they're going to be sent to some special hospital, recover, or not, because again, I just think that the world is a stage. Shout out to Cole Brown.
Taliban started to rise to power after the U.S. left, and it appears that was the basis for his immigration into the United States. Now, of course, several layers of vetting and took place after he got here. He was only temporarily allowed to come here at first, but his background with the CIA and the intelligence community does seem to be the basis for his travel to the U.S.
So what was that vetting?
So did you just hear that? The basis for his travel to America was all centered around his CIA ties, meaning if this dude wasn't given a job from the CIA, he wouldn't even have access to America. So why is Trump targeting immigrants and Americans who born in this land? Because the dude who did the shooting, he wasn't an immigrant. He didn't get his rights to American soil through an immigration process. He got it through a military DOD contract way, and that's another way that you can get access to the country, and it ain't the same as just being an immigrant at the border and going through that process. You get to bypass that process and get the VIP treatment. And it's amazing to me that a lot of the immigrants that work with the CIA and get the VIP treatment, they turn out to be Bin Laden, this dude, while we go our way to screen people that just want to come over here and cut grass, people that want to come over here and pick pecans. Trump is telling you immigrants are the terrorists. And that ain't true. It's CIA sleeper cells that's been the terrorists in America for the past couple decades. That's right. If we was really feeling threatened for our safety, we wouldn't be worrying about these farmers and these Home Depot workers. We would be worried about the fact that the DOD, the CIA, got a very lazy, lousy screening process for these foreigners. And when it comes to Americans, they want to look through your whole family history and all that. That's right. Before you can even get the most basic job at the CIA, black man. You better not ever get caught with a joint in your mouth. You ain't getting on. If they look at your record and say, well, he got a speed ticket, he was doing 61 in a 60 miles per hour zone. So unfortunately, everything is outstanding on your resume. I mean, it's above expectations, but that one speeding ticket where you went, 1 mile per hour over, man, we ain't gonna be able to hire you, man. I'm sorry. Won't you go try the ATF? I heard they hiring. Meanwhile, some foreigner that just came over here, the CIA will be, hey, man, we want to promote you already. We know you just came to the country yesterday, but we want you to be board of directors. Sign right here. Yeah, we don't know his middle name. We'll ask him that at the dinner. We don't know shit about him, but he's just got good energy. Sign right here, sir. We're going to make you president next year anyway, That's what we need to be talking about, bro.
Process actually like, because obviously there were a lot of Afghans that were coming over as part of that Operation Allies Welcome.
Yeah, by all accounts, it should have been very extensive. We know that in that initial process, he would have been vetted by the U.S. government, including the CIA. And then once he was... Now
they got to do damage control. He wasn't vetted if he was in the country for... Dude, let me tell you something, and this some real shit. It ain't no exaggeration. This goes for an American citizen born and raised on the soil. If you want to get a job with the CIA, it's going to take them 2 to 4 years just to investigate you. It may take them a year or 2 or longer than that, just the screening process, the review process. And then it'll show you that's identity and background checks, biometric vetting, in-person interviews, assessment of individualized risk, eligibility under U.S. law. The vetting process to get in the FBI and CIA takes long. It ain't like McDonald's where you just go fill out an application and they say, yeah, man, can you work tomorrow? Can you start tomorrow? No, that ain't like that. It take a while to get on because they really screen you. But these foreigners, you ain't even been in America 4 years. And you all up in there to the point where you can do this kind of damage. It just don't add up. Because the amount of time it take them to vet an American citizen to get in the CIA, you already in, and that's how many years you've been in as a foreigner. That's how many years it'll take them to just screen your ass, nigga. If you an American trying to get in the CIA, that's crazy.
Granted temporary asylum. As he applied for permanent status, he would have gone through a variety of different layers of vetting. Those include identity and background checks, biometric vetting, in-person interviews, assessment of an individual risk, and eligibility under U.S. law. So that's several layers. And it's important to remember, too, the ultimate approval and of his asylum application was granted under the Trump administration in 2025.
Important in the context of the president and...
So you can't play the left or right game with this one. Because the Trump administration ultimately backed up what Biden did, which proves my point, is two wings of the same bird. Because the Trump, listen what, Biden passed the policy, so they say, to allow foreigners like him to work with the CIA through some sort of policy. And I'm sure that it probably rushed the screening process or the vetting process. But it still could have been prevented because Trump dropped the ball. We'll see here.
Remember, too, the ultimate approval and of his asylum application was granted under the Trump administration.
See what I'm saying? So can't nobody from the right come play the left versus right game and saying with the left, both fingers gonna point at each other, right? But that's what they want them to do when both sides getting used by the same people, which is why Trump backed up where Biden did. And let me give a shout out to Righteous Kai for gifting 5 memberships, man. That was dope, man. That's nice of you, Kai.
In 2025.
Important in the context of the president and allies saying that this was the policy of the previous administration to let folks in without vetting. Important to keep that in mind. Zach Cohen, thank you so much. Let's get some perspective now with Donnell Harvin. He is the former head of Homeland Security and Intelligence for Washington, D.C., also a member of the faculty at Georgetown University's Emergency and Disaster.
Now, you know he finna do damage control because, first of all, why are we talking to Homeland Security versus CIA scouting and recruiting department? Because Homeland Security did not bring bin Laden into the country. Homeland Security did not bring Ramanullah into the country. So them bringing Homeland Security to talk is a nothing burger because it ain't like these people snuck through the border or anything like that. The red carpet was rolled out for these people by the CIA. The people who's supposed to be intelligent. They keep allowing these damn crazy shooters in the country. And y'all don't think this is a psyop? The CIA know everything about me, you, and everybody in the chat room. But they didn't know about this dude. They let him work for them and he just got here in 2020. Do you think the CIA that damn slow and dumb when you know how hard they watching regular Americans?
Disaster management program. Donnell, thank you so much for being with us. Happy Thanksgiving. We're grateful that you could share some time. I wonder what a review, as the president has said, of every migrant admitted to the U.S. under the previous administration would look like, as we've also learned that officials are going to pause any migration case related to Afghans pending further review. What does all of that entail?
But see, here go my thing, right? This was so stupid about it, right? This was stupid. We got Afghanistan Americans in this country, in the military, they working at Walmart, wherever. You got Japanese Americans here. You got Nigerian Americans, Kenyan Americans. You got all these foreign Americans over here. And these foreigners, their only threat to Americans is we got to compete with them for jobs. That's the argument FBA making. We ain't saying that they doing a lot of shooting and terroristic acts. We blaming that on the crazy white boys and these CIA sleeper cells like this dude. We smart enough to know that. So my whole thing is this. They're trying to act like these shooters are regular immigrants. So we need to talk to Homeland Security, Border Control, versus they're undermining FBA and Americans by letting anybody and everybody work with our intelligence agency. And that need to be something we worry about. The CIA know more about every American than anybody else in this country. It's their job to collect data. So they can't just be letting everybody work for them and don't know them, folks. They can't make it like regular immigrants are doing these shootings. Bin Laden didn't come through Homeland Security. He came through the CIA. All of these people. I can pull up a list because I think it's probably more than Bin Laden and this dude. It may be two more that work for the CIA or the military. Not necessarily CIA, but the government, which means they was just talking about the vetting process and they kind of skipped over that and they brought on Homeland Security. And I knew they was going to do that, try to, you know, make this an issue of the borders. This is a big psyop because think about what I'm telling you now. If we wanted spies to work with the CIA, guess what we'll do? We would go to Afghanistan Americans that's already in our military, folks. Listen what I'm telling you. If we wanted to spy on North Korea, well, let's say we wanted to spy on Japan. We don't gotta go to Japan and find random Japanese to come work for Americans, because chances are, if you live in Japan as a Japanese citizen, you're loyal to your nation. And if the CIA just go to Japan picking random Japanese people, hey, you want to be a spy for us? Them people may come and be Japan working for Japan and turn on us. So this is what the government keep telling us. They saying, well, the CIA are looking for spies, right? We gotta have spies, right? So they're going over there to hire spies, and that's where you wrong at. And that's the psyop. We got Japanese Americans already here. But what are we doing with them? We kicking them out with immigration laws. You see the game? They telling y'all it's the immigrants doing the shooting. But none of these people are immigrants. They working with the CIA. The crazy thing is, if we wanted spies, we would be hiring the damn immigrants. That's right. The immigrants are desperate. They coming over here begging us. They already pissed off at their government, so it's easier for them to become a traitor and a spy. That's right. If I wanted a Japanese spy, I wouldn't get them from Japan. I would go to Chinatown, nigga. That's right. I would go to Chinatown in LA. I would go to these same immigrants y'all kicking out and let them work for the CIA. They already Americanized. All we got to do is train them to teach their native language if they don't already know it, and just move their ass to that country. And guess what? They'll blend right in and move up in the ranks. It's silly. Because everyone know if we wanted spies, that's a good way to use these immigrants. But they saying, let's kick the immigrants out because they're terrorists. When you are literally recruiting the terrorists yourself for the job that you should be giving the immigrant, if that make any sense. Because the way that the CIA recruiting, they telling y'all it's okay and it's a hit or miss type thing. Because we gotta go over there to find a spy, but we don't know if the spy really for us or not. Then why not get a Japanese American? Like, we literally got everyone citizen in our military. It ain't a nation out there that we can't show you we got in our military, man. Like, if we got Chinese in our military, right? We got Israelis in our military, you name it. We got damn near everybody race, Japanese. We already got your people, and we got them already indoctrinated. We got Japanese over here that are Catholics, y'all. Why wouldn't we use our own spies it's easier? But they want to have an excuse to say why the CIA so clumsy. We keep picking the people that we thought we can trust, but we can't trust them. You the intelligence agency, man. Look at how hard y'all screening Americans. And y'all ought to know better than to use your own spies here with these immigrants than to be finding them on that land. That's stupid.
That entails going through and interviewing quite possibly anywhere from 70 to nearly 100,000 people, depending on what reports you read. It's got to be very clear to the audience that, you know, these Afghan asylum seekers who've come over have committed crimes at such a low rate. I was unable to find any major crimes that were committed by these individuals. These individuals and their family members served the U.S. service members abroad, help save lives. In fact, there's many documented cases of former service people going over to rescue them even after the evacuation. What happens is that once these individuals go through that layered process of vetting and they get into the United States, they're kind of free to move around the country at their will. There's no further surveillance of them. There's no surveillance state of them.
Now check this out. They got cameras on every street corner. Everybody know we in a big brother surveillance state. Trump just did the Palantir operation. We going into biometrics. We got drones up. When you say that these doggone strangers y'all letting into the CIA ain't being watched, you should watch them more. You're literally going to a foreign land dealing with a stranger you just met, giving them a top secret government job. And you think that they're going to be more loyal to us than the country that they just came from?
There's no surveillance state of them. They're just
So you ain't gonna surveil. And think about that now. When American soldier join the military and you get to certain positions, they start looking into your background even deeper in your family. They take the screening process deeper. And you mean to tell me a foreigner, you just gonna let them be laxy-daisy through America, whistling around, unscreened? You should be watching him everywhere. You should have a tracking device in him. Like, you should watch him more. So y'all got foreigners working with the CIA that y'all watching less than military troops who've been born in this damn country their whole life. That's right. They watch regular soldiers. Your daughter, your son go to the Army, the Air Force. They got all these curfews and they got to check in. They being watched. Your property, man. But you telling me the foreigner get a government job and he's in a higher level of security and he can just walk around. Oh, he's good. Let him, whistle around. This is crazy.
Just like any other asylum seeker. They'll go through their process, and throughout their process, they will have interviews, and then they'll be part of a normal, non-enhanced vetting. What I believe that the administration...
This is the hypocrisy with the denaturalization crap.
...administration's talking about now is some type of advanced vetting. The other thing I wanted to mention is that when you interview these people, when they go through the vetting process, you're looking behind, right? You're looking at their previous history, their ideology, who they've been associated with. That can't predict the future. And so this is the difficult part that the administration finds themselves in now.
You don't gotta predict the future if you monitoring a person at all times like you doing with regular U.S. troops. How you monitoring regular troops less than you are these people?
Yeah, especially as we've seen so many cases of people being radicalized through a number of different means, if this in fact turns out to be terrorism. And that leads me to the next question. How is it that officials determine a motive accurately here? Because you have the administration saying that this was terrorism, but the investigators themselves have to piece that together to show evidence of it.
Yeah, in the absence of the surviving individual who's now under arrest cooperating, all reports saying he's not cooperating, they can still piece together their background, who they communicated with. You know, Boris, you and I have been on this topic for many times. Yeah. Invariably, many of these individuals who are radicalized and mobilized to violence have some type of breadcrumb trails. We call that leakage. They may have told someone, they may have intimated this online, spoken with someone, shown some type of signs. It's always...
You see what I'm saying? This is all part of the psyop. So if this guy spoke with someone online or his online activity was a red flag, how was he able to get this far? They telling on themselves. See, they want to use this to further police social media, to further target and censor who's saying what. Because guess what Trump said? And I'm going to play the video after this one. Trump is talking about regular American citizens that don't love America, and you got all this anti-American speech on your social media, you can be denaturalized too. So again, this is turning to a dictatorship, and is all an attack on freedom of speech as well as an attack on they want to further screen you and be able to denaturalize anybody for anything. And that's where this is basically opening up.
Some type of signs. People just don't wake up, drive across the country with a gun and open fire on uniformed service members.
But that's literally what just happened. That's why they said we couldn't stop it, because there is no trail left behind that led into us knowing this dude was going to do that. But now y'all saying, well, there's often sometime a social media history and all that because y'all want to go ahead and make the PSYOP also about censorship. You see what I'm saying?
There's going to be something there they'll be able to find, even though he's not cooperating.
I wanted to go back to something that you alluded to a moment ago, and that is the suspect's previous relationship with the U.S. government and his work in Afghanistan, including with the CIA, according to Director John Ratcliffe. How do you read that relationship?
I wonder, is he going to downplay it or really go into why that's so concerning and why that really smells like a PSYOP? He ain't going to deal with that, of course, because we are looking at CNN.
You know, everything I've read that's open source available says that he served honorably and was trusted at a very high level. Like you don't get.
I told just basic information. He served his time. He was honorably. I mean, there's no way we could have thought that he would do this. He was a good soldier, and I mean, he ate cornbread, and you know, he had 2 Gatorades a day, and his uniform was fairly clean. I mean, he shined his boots, he did drill, and just basic shit that just, bro, come on, man.
Get attached to a secret, top secret unit with the CIA and special operations if you haven't been vetted even before the evacuation, right? So they trusted this individual quite possibly with their life to make sure that they wouldn't leak any information to adversaries, what they're doing, their movements, what they're looking for. And so something drastic has to happen over the last 3 years since he's gotten here, Boris.
See what I'm saying? He had to go through a mental breakdown. I mean, I don't know if he was receiving therapy, maybe a history of antidepressants, but there must be some sort of psychological breakdown. It can't just be a conversation about how our government keep letting every damn body into top secret positions and we don't even know them. That's right. And the reason I want to talk about that, because if we talk about that, it'll expose these psyops. It'll expose y'all are too smart. We talking about the DOD to allow these kind of people to go undetected in this country and to be here only for 4 years and be this high up in the CIA. See, that's a red flag. There's some fishy going on. So how you attack that is you play on their intelligence and you say, wait a minute, y'all so intelligent, why y'all keep doing dumb shit? But it never goes into us criticizing the CIA. It goes into us talking to Homeland Security about the borders and the immigrants, even though it's the DOD and CIA that keep allowing these quote unquote terrorists in here. See, and they just can deflect, clear the CIA and keep talking about Homeland Security, which I don't even know why this dude up here. They asking him about a military soldier, and he has nothing to do with that. We need to be talking to a CIA director, man. And we need to be asking him about the vetting process. That's what everyone need to be talking about, but they don't want to do that because it'll shed light on something ain't adding up. Because we know how hard y'all go to screen Americans. How is this dude able to get this far up in just 4 years and he's a foreigner? That's going to show so many flaws and so many just, you know, things they doing purposefully to run these psyops. And that's why they got to deflect with that and keep it on immigration, Homeland Security.
This is really, really unprecedented. And in a year that the word unprecedented has been used an unprecedented amount of times, we need to just sit back and look at how bonkers this is that someone would actually open fire on U.S. service members. I did some research before we came on.
I think it's bonkers that someone like this can even be working for the CIA and the CIA didn't vet them and know all of this, dog. That's what's bonkers.
I haven't seen any incident of this in my lifetime, and I'm over 50 years old.
And Donnell Harvin, thank you so much for the perspective. Appreciate you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is immigration attorney Lena Baruti. Lena, thank you so much for joining me.
See how let's talk about immigration. Let's talk about the border instead of the CIA vetting process.
Thank you, Brittany.
Denaturalization is a conversation being revisited by the Trump administration after...
Let's talk about denaturalization now versus the main threats to this country coming from within and the red carpet being rolled out for these terrorists by the CIA directly. You can deal with denaturalization and immigration, but remember, if you care about your safety, it's not immigrants that's coming over here being terrorists. Most of these terrorists are military implants that was operatives with the CIA, man.
Being revisited by the Trump administration after 2 members of the National Guard were shot in D.C. in an attack the day before Thanksgiving. One of the troops died from her injuries while the other remains in serious condition. The suspected gunman is an Afghan national who worked with our military during the war in Afghanistan. He came to America in 2021 through Biden's Operation Allies Welcome program following the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was granted asylum by the Trump administration this year, but when President Trump was asked about denaturalization days after the attack, this is how the president responded in part. Quote, "If we have criminals that came into our country and they were naturalized, maybe through Biden or somebody that didn't know what they were doing, if I have the power to do it, I'm not sure that I do, but if I do, I would denaturalize absolutely." So to start off this conversation, as an immigration attorney, I'm curious, does President Trump have the power to do that? Can someone who's naturalized be stripped of citizenship?
Someone who is naturalized in the U.S. can only be denaturalized through a legal process in the U.S. District Court. So it's a very complicated process and it's very rare. And in order to begin denaturalization proceedings, the U.S. Attorney's Office would have to file a complaint with the district court alleging that there was something in the original application that made the individual not eligible for naturalization at the time. So, for example, if the person committed fraud in their naturalization application, or they left out a group that they were a member of and that was material to their citizenship claim, those people can be denaturalized. That's always been true even before what happened in DC.
And you mentioned that that process is difficult. It's very rare. I mean, how long exactly does that take?
My experience with denaturalization cases is that most people end up settling with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Most cases that you see in denaturalization proceedings, and they're very, very rare, it's people who misrepresented on their naturalization application. For example, they had committed a crime and they had a conviction and they didn't list it, and it was a material fact that went to their eligibility for naturalization. Most people, from what I have seen, is they settle with the U.S. Attorney's Office, they agree to be denaturalized, and they end up keeping their green card. I have not personally seen a denaturalization case go to trial, but I imagine if it did, it would take years.
I know that you said earlier in this conversation that the Trump administration isn't the first to denaturalize or have this come up, but the DOJ back in June released a memo saying they were prioritizing denaturalization. And they laid out some examples that you've mentioned, like if someone lied on their application. They also said that they could revoke citizenship if someone's committed war crimes or they're a threat to the United States. So how seriously is the Trump administration prioritizing denaturalization? Are they going after this much more aggressively than administrations past?
I think the running theme in this administration in regards to immigration is panic and fear and intimidation. So I think there's a lot of talk and a lot less of what's actually happening. Under the Biden administration, we saw about 11 denaturalization cases opened per year. That doesn't mean that many people were denaturalized. It just means that many were open. In the first Trump administration, it was 25. At this point, they haven't reported how many. But the denaturalization process has always been around. It's not something that this administration has created. If someone is politically not aligned with the administration, they cannot be denaturalized. The Supreme Court has already spoken that you cannot use the denaturalization process to punish someone for their political opinion, even under the guise of it being anti-American.
I've talked to other attorneys in the past, and some of their criticisms about President Trump are that he has weaponized or attempted to weaponize the DOJ to go after political opponents, like former FBI Director James Comey, as well as New York Attorney General Letitia James. And I know that you've said that there's law preventing a president or an administration going after a naturalized citizen and trying to denaturalize them. But how difficult or hard would it be for President Trump or any administration to target someone, go after a naturalized citizen, and try to revoke their citizenship?
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head. This is exactly what this administration does. And this is the thing that's confusing about naturalization applications and even green card applications. As we saw in the last year, the administration went after pro-Palestinian anti-Zionist activists and dug up information in their green card and created this idea that they left things out that were material. The problem with green card applications and citizenship applications is you don't know how much to disclose because there's not a universal application of the law. I can give an example. I was at a citizenship application 2 weeks ago, and the officer asked my client, have you been a member of any groups? And my client said, does X group count? It was something like a Costco membership, right? And the officer says, I don't care. A week later, same question, different officer, and the officer says, you have to list every group, however you define membership. So yes, the Trump administration can always go back and open people's applications and on a technicality, use that to denaturalize them or try to take away their green card.
Yeah, they can say, you know what, man, we found out you had a Sam's Club membership. We got to kick your ass up out of America. You lied. You are part of a group.
I know that you're saying that this process is really rare, but since this conversation has come up, do you think naturalized citizens should be concerned right now?
I think everyone should be concerned right now.
So for all of the people out there that's saying it's a nothing burger, this lady worked with the denaturalization department. She worked with immigration. She said everyone should be concerned with Trump in office with these denaturalization policies. It's a very rare process that he's going to make common in his dictatorship, meaning even if you're born and raised to no matter who you are, you can get put out.
Yeah.
And my thing is, if we gonna play this game, then that go for you too, Trump. When you do anti-American stuff like put Israel before America, let's start first with you big traders in high places if we gonna play this game.
That's right. We've seen U.S. citizens who were born in the U.S. being arrested and having their rights trampled on. So yes, I think naturalized citizens should be aware of what's going on. They should be scared. As I've told my clients, everyone is subject to arrest. Whether or not you're a U.S. citizen, we see that people are being arrested. As far as denaturalization proceedings, I think if people's applications were 100% complete and they did not leave something off that was material, like a political alliance or a membership in a group or a conviction, they should be fine. But of course, there's no guarantees under this administration.
And I know that you said that it's a lengthy legal process, but let's say that you've renounced past citizenship from another country. You're stripped of your citizenship in the United States. Where does that leave you?
I actually deal with this issue quite a bit in my practice. You would be stateless. If you don't have citizenship in any country, you are stateless. And essentially, the U.S. cannot remove you to any country unless that country will accept you. And most countries will not accept someone without a travel document. So we see this, for example, with Palestinians who are stateless. They don't have citizenship in any country. We've seen this with Russians who are from former Soviet.
Now, guess what? The people in our country who we're calling small hats, if you look at their biblical history, they were stateless. They were nomads. They were gypsies. And now these people are running entire nations. But that's the narrative, that's the script we get. Stateless people who haven't pledged themselves to any land are extracting the wealth out of all of those lands and creating stateless people. That's crazy.
Countries who never got citizenship from Russia or their birth country. So this is a problem. It makes people stateless, it strips them of their identity, and it leaves them in limbo. And ironically, most stateless people cannot be deported from the United States.
So let's talk about that. If you're stateless and you can't be deported from the United States, where do you go?
You live here under an order of supervision and you get a work.
You hear that? Now, what if Trump, because Trump can he can denaturalize anybody with his new policies that he's trying to implement. And if that happened, let's just say to black people, we wouldn't go to Africa, of course, but we would stay here and we would be treated like lower. It'll go back to Jim Crow. You will be monitored at all times. You won't have certain rights. You will be in America, but not in America, meaning you won't be able to partake in the rights of Americans like that. You'll be like a second, third class citizen right here in your own indigenous land. All right. This is a good conversation.
Remove you to any country unless that country will accept you. And most countries will not accept someone without a travel document. So we see this, for example, with Palestinians who are stateless. They don't have citizenship in any country. We've seen this with Russians who are from former Soviet countries who never got citizenship from Russia or their birth country. So this is a problem. It makes people stateless, it strips them of their identity, and it leaves them in limbo. And ironically, most stateless people cannot be deported from the United States.
So let's talk about that. If you're stateless and you can't be deported from the United States, where do you go?
You live here under an order of supervision and you get a work permit every year. And once this administration came into office, many stateless people who have been reporting every year for decades were taken into custody. And we're challenging those detentions through habeas because nothing has changed except the administration has changed. They say, ICE says that they are trying to get travel documents for these individuals, but the reality is they've previously tried and failed. So now, as a punitive measure, stateless individuals are being held in custody until a district court judge orders their release.
And President Trump, since campaigning to run for president the first time, he has ran on being the person who's going to be really tough on immigration. This shooting seems to have been the catalyst for an even tougher crackdown. I want to read something that he posted after the shooting. I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover.
Now, remember that the shooter is not a migrant. The shooter didn't come here through the borders. The shooter had the red carpet rolled out for him and came here as a CIA operative. But look at what this shooting is the catalyst of.
Until a district court judge orders their release.
And President Trump, since campaigning to run for president the first time, he has ran on being the person who's going to be really tough on immigration. This shooting seems to have been the catalyst for an even tougher crackdown. I want to read something that he posted after the shooting. I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover. Terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's auto.
Now, remember, Trump administration gave this man asylum, and without that asylum, he wouldn't even be able to do what he just did. You see what I'm saying?
And remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country. And
you gonna remove anyone that's incapable of loving the country. That's vague. A person can be a born American citizen, a foundational black American, but say, I'm not in love with America right now. I don't love it. And you may be on a list to be watched under this administration.
legal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's auto pen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country, and all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country, denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign national who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization.
Non-compatible with Western civilization. You see how vague that is? What does it mean to be non-compatible with Western civilization? And y'all don't see this is the foundation of the dictatorship?
Legally, how can he do this? And how does the Trump administration decide who's a net asset to the United States and who is here to undermine domestic tranquility?
What Trump does is use social media to scare people, intimidate people.
Yeah.
Every time he posts something like this, we get so many calls of people saying exactly these things. Can he do this? How does this affect my case? The reality is what happened in DC was awful, but that individual is one individual. And what the administration doesn't do is mention his background, which is that he worked for the US government as part of a death squad.
Why don't Trump mention that? Why? Why be deceptive? Citizen man said, ask the black truckers. The foreign truckers are losing their CDLs and black truckers are getting more work and paid more money. In construction, same thing, and in many other industries that foreigners rent. I'm not excited about that. Because again, that's one of those plantation arguments about, massa, you got these other slaves on my cotton field taking all of my work, massa. That's right. I don't want to have the plantation argument against immigrants because I don't do no cotton picking, jiving around, boss, okay? Right. I don't do all that old cotton picking. You know, my whole thing about the truck drivers, I got so many black truck drivers that's been subbed to me for a decade. All of my black truck drivers in the chat room right now, drop a 1. If you used to drive trucks or still drive them, drop a 1. I got so many black truck drivers, man, been here for a minute. They don't give Trump the credit for their job. They had it way before Trump. So my whole thing about Trump trying to give more jobs to black people while at the same time selling America out to Israel, nothing can make up for how much assets and resources the left and the right doing for Israel. And I'm not just going to pick on Trump because I'm going to say that Israel owns both parties, the left and the right. The Democrats and Republicans are bought and paid for by Zionists, which is why there will never be another president in office that's from any other party, because they control media and they only going to let you get the left or the right. I got truckers in the chat right now dropping 1s. Shout out to DJ, said he about to start. See, the trucking industry always need work because don't nobody want to do the work. That's right. Not only is it hard to get your license because it's hard to drive them big MFers, but the long hours on the road, don't nobody want to do it. Every trucker that I know and that I've met, they always on the damn road. They be calling into my shows on the road, you know, because it's so much work out there.
He needed mental health. He needed mental health services. And this is true of most Afghans that worked with the US government. the fact that he entered as a refugee or that he got a green card or that he'll eventually become a citizen is not the relevant point here. Refugees and asylees are one of the most vetted group in the United States. They go through so many different layers of vetting before they're even allowed to enter the US. And naturalization of refugees and asylees is less than 10% of all naturalizations.
I know that you said earlier in this conversation that President Trump couldn't go after his political opponents, but in this statement, does he leave room for almost a slippery slope? Because he said he could naturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility. I mean, how do you measure that? Because obviously this shooting is horrific, but can people's words, according to President Trump, undermine domestic tranquility? I mean, what does that really look like?
It looks like litigation. All these cases are going to go up into the district court. They're all going to be challenged. I mean, there's lawsuits filed every single day against this administration. There is no way that you can put a limit on someone's freedom of expression or freedom of political opinion in order not to naturalize them or give them a green card. This is completely against Supreme Court precedent. The Supreme Court has spoken on this multiple times. The administration basically throws what it can against the wall and sees what sticks. And they know that what they're doing is tying lawyers up in litigation on things that are completely unconstitutional.
So as an immigration attorney, what specifically are you looking out for next?
Right now, the highest number of cases we are seeing are people being detained. So habeas petitions have taken a lot of our attention. People who are being put into deportation proceedings that have been in the US for years, people who are being arrested at interviews. Detention is the big thing right now, and that's intentional, not only to create intimidation and panic in the immigration community, but to make sure that immigration attorneys are spending most of their time litigating and not focusing on other applications.
And my thing is, there should be some kind of checks and balances for the CIA vetting leaders or whoever do the vetting for the CIA. Because the fact that the two biggest shooters of our time was working for the CIA, that's a big problem, man. That means that our biggest threats are coming from within and they ain't coming through the border. It's not an immigration topic. We don't got to go through denaturalization talk, because what we're seeing is that they coming in here with a big red carpet that's rolled out for them by the CIA. That's right. So after we done talking about all this, we then got to still talk about where the biggest threats are coming from. And that's the whole psyop behind this shit, you know. Okay, Citizen Man said the truckers weren't eating like this under Biden when the borders were open, and any trucker would confirm that. I don't really care whether they was or weren't. I hope the truckers don't take that offensive. I don't mean it like that. I'm saying there's nothing a person can tell me that what Joe Biden doing for anybody, or what Trump doing for anybody, that could compete what both of them parties doing for Israel, man. That's right. So whenever we compare what the left and the right doing for Israel, anything we compare versus that become you giving me peanuts, man. And if we keep being happy with peanuts, that's all they gonna give your ass. We gotta get bougie. We gotta say, you know what? Thank you for the peanuts, but you should have been gave me that, and you need to do better next time. Like what Umar Johnson told that lady. Umar said, thank you for the $20, but make it 100 next time. That's the energy we need toward these politicians. Like we need to realize we the prize, we got the power, and you ain't doing nothing for me. Anything you doing for me is what you should have been doing with your late ass. And yeah, I take these peanuts, but make it a steak next time, nigga.
and benefits.
We gotta get our bouginess on. We gotta always act like it ain't enough. It ain't enough. It ain't enough. We gotta be greedy. Why? Because look at how much Israel getting. That's right. I want to see how far I can push it. I'ma always say it ain't enough. Fuck that. It ain't enough. So I'ma tell everyone, hey man, quit acting like that shit is enough, man. Quit pointing out that little bullshit peanuts he giving us. And let's keep begging him and let's keep telling them we want this steak. That's my mentality, like, because with Israel, they always acting like it ain't enough. It ain't enough. It ain't enough. Give us military personnel. It ain't enough. Give us billions of dollars of tax dollars. It ain't enough. Give us free tanks and the military equipment and real estate in America. It ain't enough. Give us the power from American citizens and let us rule over them, even though we're a foreign country that's in their land. We want to work side by side with the government like we got a dual government going on. That still ain't enough. We want access to all the minds of Americans because we want their ideologies to all be founded on Abrahamic faiths. That is a Zionist agenda. That still ain't enough. They want to tell you what to think in the form of science, evolution, you name it. It ain't enough. They want to transform your food and all that. You keep taking peanuts saying it's enough, man. And when you see what they giving to other people who doing less than us, we got to quit tap dancing for these peanuts and pointing out these little crackers that they giving you and shit. You know, they threw you a little pack of crackers. Okay, man. I like oyster crackers, too. Okay, I like them, too. It ain't enough. But that's just how I look at it, with all due respect.
Donald Trump has vowed to permanently pause all immigration from third world countries following the horrific attack on 2 young National Guards in Washington, D.C., which left 1 dead and 1 critically injured. Trump responded after authorities identified 29-year-old Afghan national Rahimullah Lakanwal as the suspect. He posted on Truth Social saying, "I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the US system to fully recover. Terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's auto pen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country, end all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country, denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign nationals who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization. These goals will be pursued with the aim of achieving a major reduction in illegal and disruptive populations, including those admitted through an unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process."
Done that, they would have been.
Hold on. I ain't mean to do that. I want to read some to y'all. Look, it say I will permanently pause migration. Permanently? Permanently. It didn't say temporarily. Now, I wonder will this turn into controlling where Americans can go? Because remember, the countries that we start saying that they people can't come over here, they may turn around and say, okay, well, Americans can't come over here. But that's crazy. Anyone who is not a net asset, shout out to Goon Ho. Trump pardoned Honduras' former president, and he was doing 45 years for drugs. Look it up. Wow. Oh. Who undermine domestic tranquility and deport any
citizens of our country, denaturalize pursued with.
It say, who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western. It's the part that ought to make you say, well, wow, that's kind of vague. They're going to denaturalize people who they are calling non-compatible with Western civilization. Wow. Oh, my God. Now, that's a vague one right there that, I mean, hey. And he said this is permanent.
The aim of achieving a major reduction in illegal and disruptive populations, including those admitted through an unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process. Only reverse migration can fully cure this situation. Trump then doubled down, proving he has the authority to permanently pause immigration for third world nations, saying, Immigration and Nationality Act, Section 212F. Whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation and for such a period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem to be appropriate. The president was then pressed about the new policy by the press pack on Air Force One.
The people from different countries that are not friendly to us and countries that are out of control themselves. Countries like Somalia that have virtually no government, no military, no police. All they do is go around killing each other. Then they come into our country and tell us how to run our country.
But that ain't true, though. I haven't seen any Somalians coming into America telling us how to run the country, but I see a lot of Israel. See, here's what I'm saying. Watch this. When you talk about people coming here telling us how to run the country, not only are these people coming here telling us how to run the country, they running it. This is a whole nother foreign entity. They treat this country like they second home, and it's my first home, and I don't even get this treatment. So Trump talking about he worried about who coming here and trying to run the country when we got a group that run both the left and the right. They got him putting that yarmulke on, kissing the wall. We got a whole theological order in our political system. A religious order, calling the shots. So Trump ain't really concerned with some other entity trying to tell us how to run our country and who running our country when he's already a puppet for his controllers. Like, he ain't worried about that. Trust me. There's pictures like this wouldn't exist. He wouldn't be selling the country out to these small hats. So, on one hand, he can talk like that, but that ain't what we really see from him. It's always like brown-skinned people, and I'm not pushing no immigration, and then I'm just showing you the hypocrisy. That's what my show is about.
We don't want them. What are you talking about? You gotta talk up.
She said how many countries? Is there a list?
Well, I guess we gave you 19, right? And it's probably more than that.
Is that what you mean when you mean third world countries, those 19?
No, I don't think they're all third world, but in many cases they are third world. They're not good countries. They're very crime-ridden countries. They're countries that don't do a good job. They're countries that don't register from the standpoint of success. And we, frankly, don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
When you talk about denaturalization,
I'm talking about like Somalia, where you have a congressman goes around telling everybody about our Constitution, and yet she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. Well, if that's true, she shouldn't be a congressman, and we should throw her the hell out of our country.
The president then went further as he rammed home his message, reposting a graph showing the foreign-born share of the US population is now higher than it has ever been in recorded US history. But not everyone is happy with Trump's new policy.
Guess what, though? we still know that minimum wage is still roughly the same since the Democrats. Trump ain't really doing nothing for the working man. Now, people can point out maybe the trucking industry. I ain't gonna debate Citizen Man or the truckers on that, right? I'm saying if we don't see it across the board in general for all Americans, then it's really fails in comparison to what Trump is doing for the small hats. You know what I'm saying? He ain't playing, and he's literally like, he's basically giving them the keys to America. Gave it to them. You know, they already had the keys to the country, but.
With left-wing commentator Ro Kahana slamming Trump for his stance, saying Trump's threat to ban immigration from third world countries, an outdated term, is returning to a pre-1965 America, where immigration from nations like India was severely restricted. My parents would not have been welcome. His threat to revoke citizenships to those who views as a non-compatible after how hard immigrants from places like Mexico, El Salvador and Guatemala have worked to earn citizenships is callous and frightening. What may be a casual rant on social media by the president is devastating to millions of hard-working, law-abiding immigrant families. They are reaching out scared. This is not the time for politicians to cave. But founder of Veteran Action and Afghan veteran Mark Lucas is completely behind Donald Trump.
President Trump is making the right call to pause all immigration. And I'll tell you that ordinary American citizens cannot fathom the evil that we as Afghan veterans saw in Afghanistan.
But see, y'all saw this in Afghanistan, right? And my thing is, the people that are coming to America during these attacks, they're being invited in through our CIA, the departments and agencies that's responsible for our protection. So that's a whole different kind of threat. It ain't like they sneaking into here. It ain't like they're pulling a Pearl Harbor or September 11. This recent shooter literally worked for the CIA and Trump gave him asylum just recently. So instead of Trump saying, you know, my bad, this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for me. And he can blame Biden too, and he can say, because the first mistake was with Biden. The second mistake was with me. And that's all I'm saying. All of this benefits Israel.
These people are unvettable. They will not fit into our culture.
He said Biden did not properly vet the Afghans coming to the U.S., but the shooter that we're talking about was working with the CIA in Afghanistan directly, and they just rolled a red carpet out for him. The dude was only over here 4 years. Trump gave him asylum within that time. Don't y'all think that's kind of rushed and quick? So why aren't we having a conversation about how the government can undermine all of these policies if they hiring someone for a covert operation or something? So at the end of the day, you can do all this, but it ain't attacking the problem. Because at the end of the day, after you do all this, the CIA can still hire some stranger from another country, and this can happen again because we ain't dealing with the issue.
And as a platoon leader, I had to conduct these key leader engagements with my supposed allies.
You see, when they show you all of these pictures right here, the people that you see on this image, they ain't coming over here being vigilante shooters, man. It's facts what I'm telling. The people that you see on this image are coming over here competing with us for jobs. I give them that. But the jobs that they getting, most of us don't really want to work those. Now, you do have a lot of these people getting good places in government, politics, and all that, so you may have a legitimate argument. I ain't gonna argue with you back and forth with that one, because I'm not against you or for you. You know, it's some truth to that. The point is me pointing out these lies. Most of the terrorist shooters in America, and I'm not pulling the race card, right? They're white guys. They're bombers like Columbine, Oklahoma City, you know, like the Charlie Kirk situation. And whenever this stuff happened, they make everyone else a problem except for the direct problem of the matter, you know, just like with Kirk. So this guy, they showing you these images of these immigrants and stuff, making them to look dangerous, you know. And these are not the profile of your typical terrorist shooters, just not. Most of them are ex-CIA, ex-military, ex-radical militia in America. That's just facts.
And they would have these young boys, these chai boys that would serve as tea, and they were sold in delivery to these men. And also my women that were attached to my unit, the female engagement team, all three of them just so happened to be blonde. We had to constantly protect these women from Afghan locals and our allies in the Afghan National Security.
You hear this man talking about PDF files in the wake of the Epstein situation? They're trying to act like PDF failure only take place in Afghanistan, when I would argue that is even more out of hand in America, because the small hats that y'all caping for is embedded all in their religious system. Let's not talk about the forms of circumcision, how they do that. You know, with they MOUTH, right? It's disgusting. So it's just amazing the hypocrisy. Like, you want to bring up the PDF stuff, and I mean, it is out of hand in Hollywood. We had a whole scandal with the Nickelodeon guy. Like, my whole thing is, you really can't talk about other countries when it comes to that, because actually, even in the Bible that we swear in on in America, PDF failure is condoned. That's like telling the other country, you know, they enslaved black people and built the country off the backs of the slaves, and they're wrong for that. And I'm like, wait a minute, y'all did the same thing, man. It's even condoned in your Bible. Shout out to Miss Make Me a Drink. Thank you for the donation.
Forces. If we wouldn't have done that, they would have been beaten and they would have been. Now, many of the men I served with in Afghanistan were courageous. I admired a few of them, but I couldn't trust any of them. And we need to deport all of these.
Look, you couldn't trust any of them, but we gave them CIA jobs and secret clearances. You saying all of these dudes in Afghanistan is shiesty, we couldn't trust them, but we trusted them enough to let them get asylum and to let them work for the CIA after being in America for 4 years. You can't trust them. But when it comes for them working for the CIA, all you need is 4 years and they good. Apparently, y'all trust them more than American citizens because bin Laden worked for the CIA. My thing is, if you saying that y'all don't trust them, it don't show. Because, I mean, they got a lot of positions in the CIA and all this stuff.
These people as soon as possible to protect our homeland. We should have never brought him into our country to begin with.
And let's talk about that. Who did it? The CIA. The people that's supposed to have the intelligence and that's supposed to be protecting us from domestic and foreign threats. But no one want to deal with that. if the enemy coming in here directly through them, then you doing immigration policies and targeting, migrants and all that is just a distraction.
We couldn't hardly vet these people in theater. There's a different type of vetting when you're on a combat battlefield where it's quicker, it's expedient, and we expect these guys to fight a mutual enemy. But the vetting to bring somebody into our country is wildly different. These people do not assimilate. They don't love America. They don't respect our Constitution.
And I agree. I'm not disagreeing. Some of the stuff he's saying is true. But I'm just pointing out, they don't really care about that. They have a whole nother agenda, and they don't care about protecting Americans and make sure it's America. They don't care about making sure that it's America first. They don't. They act like that, like it's about Americans and for the citizens. But and then they show you this to scare you, but it's a whole nother agenda.
They don't respect our norms. They're coming here to dominate. And if we don't quickly deport these people, including this guy's wife and children, after they're interviewed, we will see more attacks on service members. We were promised during the global war on terror that we're going to be able to fight the enemies of the United States on foreign soil so we wouldn't have another 9/11. Well, we just lost one.
This is a big psyop. Look at all the code words. It's the same script from 9/11.
Service member. How many more service members are we going to have to lose because we're adhering to some politically correct political ideology on immigration?
And while some are supporting the move, MS Now had a meltdown.
Well, it's not just Donald Trump or Stephen Miller or this greater White House. Some Republicans in Congress are calling on Trump to end all Muslim immigration, and I want to make sure I have it right, and quote, deport every single
Muslim and Islam. So now you're attacking a whole religious faith. You got to think about this now. If they can do this to Muslims, they can do this to any ideology that they think is a threat to quote unquote Western culture, is what Trump said. If it's not in alignment with Western ideologies. And Islam is not. Islam is not. So that can go for anything. It ain't got to be a religious ideology. It can be any. Hell, it can be flat earth. If they saying, these flat earthers are, not only are they anti-scientific, they're coming with a lot of anti-establishment rhetoric that seems that can be deemed terroristical in nature. And then they can start coming with ways to make you some sort of second, third class citizen. But this is like the whole social credit score, but they're going to do it to immigrants first. That's the psychological operation. If you accept it with the immigrants, then they will start implementing it on you, just like they did with ICE when they was using ICE just for immigrants. Now they're using ICE on black people in the ghetto. So, yeah, same psychological operation to ease it in.
Islamist who is living among us just waiting to attack. Stuart, doesn't that language only ignite anti-American sentiment in parts of the world or among people?
Because and they can do this on a medical level, too. They can say, well, look, everybody coming from these countries, you got to get injected with this kind of lemonade right here in your arm, or you can't come into the country. And they can use that as a way to free experimentation, free guinea pigs, if you will. And I'm just saying they can leverage that way.
Who are living here?
Sure, and it's a fundamentally anti-American concept that we're going to pick people out by religion and deport them. It goes against the whole concept of why there is an America. And it's extraordinarily appalling and offensive to what it means to be an American. And look, Steph, I have to point out as someone who worked for former President Bush, when 9/11 happened, 2 days later, I believe, he went out and said that to Moscow, we cannot attack those who are of a different religion. And, that was consistent with what was once a Republican sort of threshold belief, that you blame the person who is the criminal, not the circumstances.
It's crazy because just because this dude was from Afghanistan, it wasn't even known his religious background. He could have been a Christian. Now think of how many white Christian nationalists that shot up churches, bombed buildings in this land. And we don't target all Christians, do we? I'm just saying, you got one Muslim shooter. He worked with the government. He wouldn't even be here if it weren't for the CIA. Now we got to round up Muslims, a whole religious group. Now, I know some of y'all may not care because it ain't you, but it ain't going to start directly with the American citizens. That's what I'm telling you. You got to stand up when you see something wrong and anti-constitutional happening to anyone if you're a true patriot. That's right. This other thing is just a damn cult.
Sort of threshold belief that you blame the person who is the criminal, not
Big Dog Philly OG, what's good? D. Allen Warren, what's good? Salute to all the channel members. Ripple Man, what's good? Shout out to all the viewers in attendance today and everyone that supported the show. Salutes to the Patreons.
The circumstances, that there has to be some sense of personal responsibility. And the party used to believe in that, or at least we said we did, apparently we didn't. And this sort of scapegoating. I mean, after the Vietnam War, there were thousands, tens of thousands of Vietnamese who came to America, who had fought and been allied with Americans. Some of them created Vietnamese gangs. There's Vietnamese crime problems. But does that mean it was wrong? Of course it doesn't.
Gentlemen, we're going to have to take a deep breath on this one. If only we could be spending these hours, these days, just thinking about the victims. Jeff, Stewart, thank you for starting us off this evening.
So this is crazy. And then the whole thinking about the victims is part of the psychological operation too, assuming that someone actually was harmed in this situation, because that's canceling out the option for us to think and say, what if it's staged? What if there aren't any real victims? But see, they're going to cancel that out by getting overly emotional already before we can even think this thing through, and basically creating an atmosphere to any kind of questioning about if it's fake or not is going to look disrespectful to the victims. Didn't we see this psyop with 9/11? They ain't do nothing but wash, rinse, and repeat. So y'all don't remember this psyop with 9/11? Anyone that tried to question and show that it looked staged and that it might not be real, you're disrespecting all of the victims. And so they had to prime the atmosphere with that, with the same emotional energy she just did. Is psychological. So that anyone think outside the box, oh, you're fucking evil, man. Can we just take a moment and, think about the victims? And that cancels any attempt you think you're going to think outside the box. And it's a good tactic. It's a really good strategy, man. Most people don't even know that they being mindfucked. They don't even know the strategy.
We have some news right now. Donald Trump is calling for the denaturalization of migrants living in the United States of America who, quote, undermine domestic tranquility. That's a direct quote from the president in his latest Truth Social post, the one where he called Tim Walz the R word, the slur. But that part of it really stood out to me because denaturalization is the process by which the United States government strips citizenship from those living in the United States of America, from American citizens. Now, there is currently a very small set of circumstances in which denaturalization can occur. Undermining domestic tranquility is not a standard that's ever been used in any law or in any court. It does not have a definition, and it's unclear what the president means by that. But now, a naturalized parent or spouse of a US-born citizen is at risk, simply because the President of the United States is adopting Stephen Miller's vision for the future of America.
That's crazy.
There is a legal path.
Again, even if you born and raised here, which is unheard of, Denaturalization of U.S. citizens is unheard of, and that's what we got under Trump. Boy, I tell you, man. All right, let's hear this guy out. He's going viral.
So the Trump administration just announced that they're going to be prioritizing denaturalization cases against...
Boy, please tell me you ain't gonna have that piano playing through the whole shit.
...naturalized U.S. citizens. These are citizens like...
Guess we gotta bear it. Let's go.
So the Trump administration just announced that they're going to be prioritizing denaturalization cases against naturalized U.S. citizens. These are citizens like foreign nationals who became permanent residents who thereafter became U.S. citizens through the naturalization process. In this video, I'm going to go over whether or not this is something you should be afraid of, what it really means, how this all works. As background, I used to work these cases on behalf of the government when I worked for the Department of Justice, so I have sort of inside knowledge.
And that's why I picked his video, because he looked like he know what he was talking about when he said, here's when you can actually lose U.S. citizenship, denaturalization explained. I might get into
knowledge on how these
go on his channel and check out some more
cases are handled by the government. First and foremost, welcome back to the channel. My name is Adrian Pandev. I'm an attorney, and I try to make the maze that is the U.S. government easier for all foreign nationals, and my goal with these videos is to clarify a lot of the things you're seeing in the news and a lot of the processes and hopefully make them easier to understand. Now, let's jump into denaturalization. So what is denaturalization? Denaturalization is a process in which someone's U.S. citizenship can be taken. Now, first and foremost, you have to understand that only naturalized U.S. citizens can be denaturalized, right? So if you're a natural born U.S. citizen, so you were born inside the U.S., you're born to U.S. citizen parents, etc., there's no denaturalization process that could ever affect you, right?
So he said that according to my situation, we can't be denaturalized. So it's mixed teachings on this, because a lot of the news stations are saying that American citizens should be worried even if you come from a naturalized mother and father and you born here too. So a lot of the news stations are pushing that fear story that I was pushing. Maybe that ain't true. I'm glad we're hearing both sides. Maybe the news is fear-mongering. But I don't put it off the table. I'm a 50-50 everyone's information. That way I'll be safe.
So this only applies to individuals who were, foreign nationals, came here, became permanent residents, whether it's through their parents or individually through work or, whichever means. If you became a permanent resident, you had a green card, and then filed to become a U.S. citizen through naturalization, those are the individuals that could be impacted by this. Now, who can be denaturalized, right? What does the government have to prove in order to denaturalize someone? Well, what you need to know is that it's an incredibly high bar. So how does the whole denaturalization procedure work? So the U.S. Department of Justice, main justice in D.C., where I work, right? They first have to initiate the case with a federal court. They have to file a complaint in which they have to present clear and convincing evidence that leaves no doubt that the individual either illegally procured their U.S. citizenship or became a U.S. citizen by concealing material facts or through willful misrepresentation of material facts. So the bottom line is that the government has to show to a federal judge that there's been some sort of serious violation or crime or major issue in someone's record that they hid from U.S. immigration, whether it's through at the naturalization stage or previously at the green card stage, right? Generally speaking, right? When people hear, when they hear the rule, they think, oh, like, I forgot to disclose a parking ticket or whatever, speeding ticket. That is not what we're talking about here. During my time at the Department of Justice, I only saw denaturalization cases for.
So this guy worked for the DOJ, which is kind of gonna give his word a little more weight than the news, which is why his video going viral. And he's saying it ain't nothing to really worry about, but Trump and the media are making it as if it is, because Trump is kind of, he like to boast and threaten, talk the dictatorship talk. So he's probably over speaking about what he can do. You know how Trump do. So that's one thing that's probably making the media say we should be worried under this administration, But according to this guy who worked with the DOJ, it's just another situation of Trump overselling himself and the media believing Trump, or like it's all a psyop and a stage anyway.
For individuals who were war criminals, terrorists, major drug dealers, major criminals, murderers, child sex offenders, just to put it bluntly, bad guys. And although the media right now is, presenting a lot of, the media is saying that, look, if this becomes a major enforcement priority, these cases could be initiated against individuals, who committed lesser crimes and then naturalized and didn't disclose. Even the examples that I saw cited in the media were child sex offenders and similar individuals. So the bottom line here is, generally speaking, and everything I've seen when it comes to denaturalization, the Department of Justice only initiates these cases against really, really bad guys. So if you haven't committed any serious crimes that you didn't disclose during your immigration process.
Now, they saying that, but what did we just see on the news? We saw pictures of immigrants and people, that I was telling you, they just coming over here to work jobs, right? We just saw what the news was showing. They were showing a plane full of people. You got these boats full of people showing up at the borders or whatever. They here for work. The news was saying that Trump is targeting them, and Trump was confirming, we got to get rid of these immigrants out of here. And he was picking on the Somalians, the Somalian Americans who may be over here, just because they come from a criminal country. He may target all Somalians like he doing with all Muslims, because this guy was from Afghan, even though you can be an Afghanistan citizen and be a Christian. But it's mixed information here. So even though this dude worked with the DOJ, I'm still 50-50 with it.
Previously, well then this should not impact you, right? Well, let's assume the Department of Justice starts initiating these cases for lesser crimes. Even then, the U.S. federal judges, right, because these cases are filed in federal district court, so a federal judge will still have to make that decision.
Yeah, I ain't gonna cape for nobody, but what I'm saying is we can't cape for Trump either, because I hear y'all when y'all say it ain't an FBA problem. I'm with you on that. I'm on code with that. But I don't like the fact that we using this to rally behind Trump. If that's what y'all doing, I can get if you're just like, hey, I don't care. I'm just ain't even ignoring none of that. But when we go to making it like, oh, Trump doing something for us, that's where I be like, okay, that's silly.
The decision is made by the federal judge. So the bottom line here is that the federal judge will need to be convinced that the particular offenses, the particular violations cited in the complaint by the DOJ rise to the level where they feel comfortable taking.
It is about Trump. He's the damn president, and none of this will be happening if he don't make these policies, dude. That's right. What the hell? is literally about Trump. He's the man of the hour right now, because when you got 2 National Guard soldiers shot, we want to hear from the president, man. We want to hear. That's like when September 11 happened. Soon as that happened, it was all eyes on George Bush. And where was he? Reading a book out of school. People still talk about that to this day. He kept reading a book. It was so much about the president, they can tell you the name of the book he was reading at that time. Type it in the chat room. I'm going to shout out the first person do it. What you mean it ain't about the president?
Stupid.
It's definitely, he's the man we want to hear from. What you gonna do about this? It's crazy. That's like a team just got their butt whipped. It ain't about the coach. Yeah, that first person they gonna interview is the coach. And they gonna ask him about the strategy, what he think he can do better, what you gonna do about it next game. Like, what you mean? It's always about the leader.
That's right. Someone's U.S. citizenship. In my experience, judges really hold the government to their standard.
Yeah, I meant what I said, because I saw people rallying behind Trump. If you wasn't one of them, then don't even ignore that, man. That's right. They know who I'm talking to. There were people using this to get and rally behind Trump, and I'm saying no. FBA is still about reparations. Cut the check before we rally behind anybody. That's what FBA and ADOS. I don't care what you do to them immigrants. I care about what you say you're going to do for me. See, I don't fall for that game. If we say we not giving up our vote to the left or the right, until you bow down and lay out the carpet for us like you doing with the small hats, then you kicking immigrants out still ain't came through for me on what you say you gonna do for me. Right? You kicking them out for you too. So don't try to act like, see, no, man. And that's the thing. That's what I was saying. You know.
They take this really seriously. They understand what U.S. citizenship means, right? They don't want to just take people's U.S. citizenship and turn it into some kind of visa that can easily be taken and canceled. So even if all of a sudden the DOJ starts prioritizing, these cases and call it weaker denaturalization cases, the federal judges are going to act as a backstop. And keep in mind, federal judges are lifetime appointees. They're appointed, various administrations. They're not recent appointees. So it's
salutes, boss man, for sure. We on the same page.
Highly unlikely that any judge would just rubber stamp these filings by the DOJ. So where does this leave you, and what does this mean for you? And this is what's most important, and that's why I'm shooting this video. Denaturalization was always here. These cases always existed. This is a process that the government does. I worked at the office that handled these cases. There's nothing new there, right? And even if they become a priority now and the DOJ wants to file more of these, there's, in my opinion, very many cases out there where individuals committed really bad crimes who still naturalized because they lied and concealed important information. So in my opinion, the cases that are going to be targeted here are those individuals, even if there's more filings made, right? So if you've not committed serious crimes.
I mean, the reason I'm playing this dude is because it balances out the fear-mongering. All right, I don't want to just be 100% fear-mongering. And I'm glad I'm playing him because now I can get my 50-50 on, and now that there is a guy that worked for the DOJ that's saying it's a nothing burger. But see, if he's right, then it just goes to show you how the media is always overhyping and getting American citizens all in a fucking, frenzy with stuff. Because the guy worked for the DOJ. And that just goes to show you how much capping that Trump does too, with overselling what he can and can't do or whatever. But I believe Trump halfway, and I believe him halfway, and I like this 50-50 area. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here and just keep observing from this point and see what happens. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna review. We at the 3-hour mark. And I don't really got a lot of time for call-ins. So if you would like to debate me or disagree with me, send me an email, and it's talktoBroSanchez@gmail.com. And when I'm free later tonight, you know, because I'm free all this weekend, we can crank this thing back up, we can open it up, and we can talk about whatever on your mind. I do got future shows coming up about FBA, and I got shows coming up dealing with cosmology, flat earth, symbolism, syncretism. You know, that's what we do. Cosmology, politics. That's what we do. We think outside the box. So I'm going to end right here, though. Email me, talktoBroSanchez@gmail.com if you're interested in arranging a debate. Put that in the title. Thanks, everyone who supported the show. I appreciate y'all. Righteous Kai, Ghetto 916, Hydro Jen, Cole Brown, Goon Ho, and Miss Make Me a Drink, and all of my channel members and Patreons. And shout out to everyone that hit me up on the Cash App. It's $BROSANCHEZTV. And just since I thought about that, I want to shout those people out. Just in case somebody may drop some in the Cash App during the show. Shout out to Jayla. Can I do a show on the Jesuits and Zionists? I'll write that down. Yep. I can and will and shall. Shout out to you, and shout out to Zero Titus for the Cash App. Gnosis and Transference. If you guys want to send in a Cash App donation before the end of the show, there you go. We'll read it before we get out of here. Shout out to Dwayne Robertson for the Cash App. Thanks, bro, for your time and research. Appreciate you, my brother, Dwayne. And to all of y'all who sent in the Cash Apps, we can't forget about y'all. We're going to be reading those every show as well. So somebody said, keep going. No, I'll be back. I'll be back. And I'll be back with a renewed title and all that. We're going to be keeping y'all covered on all this stuff. Don't trip. Peace and much love, y'all. We out.